I've done some past life work.
Really?
I was gay in a couple of them.
It's not that it's bad or anything like that. A lot of it comes from trauma. They have a very weak masculine figure in their household, or they're traumatized by a masculine figure. If you feel in your soul like, yeah, you are gay and you want to keep being gay, so that's your path and that's where you're gonna learn the most, and there's nothing wrong with that.
All right, guys, we got Irah Morffi here, all the way from Peru.
Yeah.
What a flight.
Yes, it was quite a flight.
You spent some time there, right? 6 months, you said?
Oh, 6 months. I thought in the flight, 16 hours. But yeah, no, I was in Peru for the last 6 months, went back home.
Nice. Did you go there for a specific reason?
Well, I wanted to connect back more with like my indigenous roots there, because I was raised with African religion and I hadn't touched up on like the other part of me. So that is mainly why I went back to Peru. And then I stayed there, of course, like saw some family, kind of went back for the roots, but
That's cool. So you said you were raised with African religion?
yeah, Afro-Caribbean, Santeria, Ifismo.
What's that like?
Yeah. It's interesting. My dad is Cuban. So my dad, my mom met my dad in Cuba, then they flew back to Peru, had me there, was raised there. But my dad always did a lot of rituals, a lot of sacrifices.
Whoa.
And it was really intense, But I personally don't do, I'm not part of that religion myself, but I have learned quite a lot from it. But I'm more of like, I walk my own path.
So you don't have a specific religion you label yourself as?
No, I study all.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm kind of the same. I like to study all and kind of incorporate different things from different religions.
Yeah, that's what spirituality is. It's more like developing your own truth, your own insights. I would say shamanism is like the thing that I like to, I'm not a shaman myself, but I like to follow more of that path, because shamanism is more of like, being a shaman is somebody who is enlightened. That's really what it means, shaman, and it's somebody who helps others see the truth for themselves, right? I can share my truth, but it's not going to be your truth. So that's what I like to do, is just help others align with their truth, I would say, even if it doesn't align with mine.
I love that.
Yeah.
Did you feel like as a young kid you had spiritual abilities? From a very young age?
Yeah. I don't remember exactly like seeing spirits or anything like that, but ever since I was a kid and to this day, when I was a kid, it was way stronger. I would like see stuff, but it was more like sensing it, hearing it, feeling it, walking around. So I was always like very open to the spiritual since I was a kid.
Wow.
But more towards like a darker aspect of it.
Really?
Because my dad would do, I'm not saying like Ifismo was like a bad thing, but the way that he would do it and like the things that he had within him when he would do that stuff, it was just opening channels towards like, I would say like negative.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Like a portal almost, right?
Yeah.
Like a vortex. Dang. And then you would have to be left with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I was very open towards like, I had like a lot of dark stuff and dark thoughts and things like that since when I was a little kid. No reason for me to have those things.
Yeah.
Right. So I was very open towards like darkness, I would say, but more in like a spiritual way. And then from there, obviously, I had to like start working on it and healing it. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. I just found out my house was haunted, my childhood home.
No way.
And I used to be so terrified. I used to sleep with the lights on.
Oh, I feel you.
So I had to shut off any power I had. So a little bit relatable to your story.
Yeah, definitely. It's really interesting. Even like with the lights on, I couldn't sleep.
Wow.
But yeah, no, haunted houses are definitely an entire experience.
Yeah. You got some stories there?
Haunted homes. Well, once I went to sleep, I was a kid. This is the time that my mom and my dad, my brother wasn't there yet, but he was, we were like living in not like a very nice house. I literally was sleeping in the closet.
Whoa.
But the house, the lady that lived above, which that was the owner, she had buried all the ashes of all her family members in our yard.
What?
No, literally. And so I literally would see and feel stuff all the time. I would be running to my mom, sleep with her. But once they drew things on the wall, and my parents blamed me.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So they had the power to draw on the wall?
Yeah, I don't know how they did that to this day.
That is crazy.
I think it was with one of my crayons, but they drew like an eye.
Oh my gosh.
On the wall.
That is creepy. So you guys moved out of there, right?
My parents, well, my dad was already like in that world. He didn't really mind them. After that, yeah, it was just like more of an internal experience, what I experienced with the spiritual, more than outside. It was internal.
Got it. So your whole family had some spiritual experience.
Yeah, my dad's a son, was still kind of is. He did Santeria. So my mom now is a pranic healer. So she's also a bruja.
Oh, wow.
And they're both very gifted.
Nice.
So, yeah.
So do you think it's genetic almost to have that?
I would say, yeah.
Okay.
But anybody can develop spiritual gifts.
Yeah.
Anybody.
Yeah, there's that theory that we all have them. They're just dormant.
Yeah, because I mean, at the end of the day, like we're all spirits, right? And the fact that we have like, I would say like physical bodies and the mind and the logic, ego, that's really what blocks it, I would say. Although they're meant to be working simultaneously and together in order to have like an order.
Got it.
But most people don't notice their spiritual abilities because they have like mental creations blocking them all the time. Like you are right now experiencing psychic phenomena. You probably can hear my thoughts right now.
Really?
Because we're connected by a collective consciousness.
Wow.
You know, but you're most likely not, since you're speaking to me and you also have your own thoughts, you're not going to notice them.
Yeah. So mind reading can be a real thing then.
Mind reading is a real thing, very real thing. Yeah.
What about psychics?
Psychics, like in the terms of how that works.
Like some say they can predict your future. My mom went to one and then they said she'd be married in like 10 years and it didn't happen.
Oh, that's because we live in a quantum universe where everything, everywhere, everyone is happening all at once. So all the possibilities are like right now possible. I can go and move my mic or, you know, throw something across the room, and that definitely happened right now in other universes. But it's not happening in this one because I decided not to do that. But we're never like in one set reality. So when psychics read your future, if you go to a psychic and they tell you this is gonna happen, you can change it, right? So if anybody tells you this is gonna happen, it's not that way. It's always like you are energetically more in alignment with that reality and you're more likely to attract it,
right?
But you're not actually going to, you know, I would say you're not actually going to like live that out if you put the effort towards like removing your energy from that and putting it somewhere else.
I got it.
So that's probably what your mom did.
Yeah, probably. It was another dimension that happened.
Yeah, psychics just read into the quantum and see like what you're the most likely aligned with.
Yeah, that's good to know because some people get those readings and they're terrified.
Exactly. I always saw like when I used to do readings for my clients, I would be like, yo, like every single time you go to another psychic, then they tell you there's one thing that's gonna happen and that cannot change. They don't understand. Either they're lying to you or they just don't understand the bigger concept of like how the universe works.
Right.
So that's really important to me.
Yeah, that makes sense. You're able to see auras, right? Colors.
Cool. Okay, so physically I can only see like a invisible like halo around people. I do see energy like floating around, not much color unless I like focus on it. It's more like internally. I have my eye like pretty, it's more like images and things like that I got. Yeah.
I could see that. When you walked in here, it felt different compared to my other guests. I don't know what it is, but you carry a certain presence that's really strong.
Yeah, I guess it's just authenticity, I would say. I like to, I'm not saying your other guests are not authentic, but I definitely strive to be like myself at all times. Because if I'm not myself, then I'm not going to align with things that are for me.
All right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you talk about mental illness a lot on your social media.
I do.
And you get some hate for it.
Some of it, but I feel like there's a lot of people who understand as well. And those are, you know, the ones that gain the most from my content.
So what's your take on mental health?
Well, listen, I don't believe in mental illness, but that's because of experiences, research, also working with people, and the fact that I, you know, have been also raised in a religion that they don't believe in that either. But when it comes to mental illness, listen, I'm not a doctor. This is not medical advice, right? Yeah. But in so many other cultures outside from Western, mental illness is actually seen as a spiritual gift. They celebrate mental illness instead of us where we lock people up.
Wow.
So when it comes to mental illness, for example, the Dagara tribe in Africa, in Burkina Faso, we had a man named Dr. I forgot his name, but he is somebody who was born in the Dagara tribe. And he would go to universities in the United States and go into like these different mental institutions to see one of his clients, right?
Yeah.
And he would actually see how all the people in these mental institutions were like locked up in straitjackets, and they had a lot of spirits around and messing with them, right? But what he was raised with was that mental illness is really just a initiation. If it's not correctly initiated, they go into almost like a sort of insanity. Because imagine you have all these spirits and all these negative influences, also with trauma. If you're like spiritually gifted and you're traumatized,
Right.
you're going to be vibrating pretty low. And so that's going to open portals and channels towards like, I would say negative, ill-intended spirits, naturally. So if you're not handling that, if you're not properly initiated, you're going to end up going crazy. And that's what mental illness is really what it is, right? But you also have, with mental illness, like the diet, which is so important. Because if you're eating terrible, you're literally going to mess your chemical imbalance in your brain. Like the food has actually the ability to mess with your chemical balance in the brain. So if you're depressed and you look at your food, but all you're eating is like terrible carbs, like Oreos, Doritos, and all these things, you're not going to feel well, obviously. So, and then, you say you're mentally ill and they get medicated. So there's just so many different factors to mental illness. But I promise you, when it comes to mental illness, it's never a mental thing that it's like not reversible. Never. It's either your food, you're spiritually gifted, or you're traumatized.
Wow.
And that's it. And so in the case that you're traumatized, you should be emotionally healing. But instead of healing you, what do? They numb you with meds.
Right.
Right. So that's the whole thing about mental illness. The chemical balance can always be balanced out with your own will, your own mind power, and of course your diet, right? Watch your diet.
Yeah. I think diet's probably the biggest one, right?
I would say it's both, right? Because if you have the best amazing diet in the world, but then you're thinking like negative things all the time, or you're victimizing yourself, right? Putting yourself in a place of victimizing and not being the cause of your reality, but instead being the effect of life. Like life just does things to you, you're the effect of it, and you're not going to live very well. You're always going to be in like a bad mental state, regardless of what you eat, because at the end of the day, like it's really the mind power and the soul that is like controlling all of this. You have the heart, feminine, the heart, and then you have the mind, which is the masculine, right? The mind is the will, the ability to like to put energy into things, and then you have the heart, who is like the spirit, the emotions, and that's both of them create your reality.
Yeah, so it's important to have both working together.
Both working together, and of course you have like the body and everything, but all of these things are created from these two places. Yeah. So it's just overall really important, like to eat well, but also to work on the control of your own mind, I would say.
And do you feel like masculinity has been attacked recently?
Absolutely. The world is energetically upside down, right? Because we live in a dual universe. Everything is dual, except for like the oneness. The oneness is not dual, it's just oneness, right? Yeah. But oneness is not something where we're at right now. Otherwise, we would not be fragmented. I wouldn't be me, you wouldn't be you. But in the grand scheme of things, yes, we are one, like you and me are one. And so it's everything here, right? But the ability for this to be like fragmented right now, like this, everything being fragmented, is really just the masculine putting it into place. Because we have chaos, which is the feminine, the idea, the dream. And then the masculine comes and makes that into an order. If we were only living in like a feminine, I would say, universe, in the feminine, I don't mean sex or I don't mean like any of that. I mean more of like energies that make everything. You have the negative and positive, electrons that come together and make atoms. Yeah. Right? So that is really like the negative, well, not the positive and negative, but the masculine and feminine. So the masculine would be like the logic, the mind, like I said, the order. And we have the feminine, which is the chaos, but it's also the dream, the heart, the love, right? It's that connection to spirit. Both have been very attacked. And it's almost like it's like a dance between two extremes that's happening right now. Because you have, for example, masculinity, which is, patriarchy completely is against the man and the woman. Of course, they try to kill the femininity within men and women at the same time. Because men, they're taught to not feel, not have emotions, which is their feminine, what connects them to their spirits. They're taught to be logical and have order and control over things. And this is why you have seen the generation of our men in the past being extremely controlling, manipulative, and also very toxic as well. And the woman, of course, they have always seen her as more of like sensitive and weak, etc. Because that's femininity, something that has been like very attacked in both men and women. But what happens is that when now that men start to discover their femininity, because we are evolving as a species, obviously we're going to evolve spiritually as well.
Yep.
What happens is that they confuse them, right? People, the media, there's always an agenda behind everything. But men start to like develop more emotions, just being more in touch with their femininity. That doesn't mean that they're feminine. That doesn't mean that they're feminine. It just means that, yes, you're discovering a new part of yourself, and that's completely fine.
Yeah.
But I feel like they take advantage of that and confuse them. So what happens with a lot of men, and also happens with women, right? Where they almost hyper masculine, how do you say that word?
Hyper masculinize?
Yeah, hyper masculinize women. Because of course the patriarchy, right? You have a lot of these lesbians, right? Who they want to be like equal to men,
right? Completely
equal to men, and to the point where they also, start to compete with men, but in a very patriarchal way, right? Where it's like a hyper independent state that is not helping them. It's also like turning down their femininity within. And having femininity is not weak. It's not bad. But at the end of the day, like that's what people have been taught to ignore and almost like shun it away.
Yeah.
So when it comes to men starting to develop their femininity, I feel like it goes towards the other extreme, which is chaos. They don't know who they are. They're almost like they become non-binary, right? For example.
Right.
Because that confusion, they take advantage of it, the media. And instead of helping them figure out what it is, right, the truth, I feel like, there's just so many different ways it can go. They take advantage of that lack of order, which is the masculine. And then they go ahead and, tell them that they're this, that they're that. They put labels on that.
Yeah.
And so that obviously the person wants to belong. Humans always want to belong to something. So they end up labeling themselves as, perhaps anything in the LGBT.
Right. And then it's at all-time highs, those labels.
It's all-time high right now because I feel like a lot of people, yes, they want to belong and they don't know, what they really are. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, the human being is very fluent, I would say. Like they have the ability to yes, be many things. But I feel like once you put yourself in a box and you say that you're this and this and that, that's when you start to almost like minimize who you are.
Right, because you start manifesting it.
Yeah, and I feel like they're overall, yes, masculinity has been very attacked because obviously the point is to destroy the households, right?
Yeah.
If you destroy the household, the family, that is when society starts to become chaos, right? It starts to go from a very extreme masculine, which is where it has been with the patriarchy, to the other end. But it's not a balanced end where you're like in balance with both energies because we all have masculine and feminine energy within us.
Right.
It's more of like an extreme of chaos of you don't know like your identity, you don't know who you are, you're confused, but then you start to overall take on labels that are not really like who you are, and then you're just more confused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you think they want all this chaos going on right now?
Well, I feel like when people are in a mindset where they're not in tune with who they are, they're easier to control. So
they just want control of people.
I would say, yes, it's more control over people, but I would say that it's also destroying, like I said, the household. When you destroy the household, there's no more community, there's no more communication that is, really going between all of us, right? We don't evolve in a balanced way. Because the truth is that, yes, masculine and feminine energy are very apparent. We live in a dual universe. You can see it with the sexes, right? Men and women, although we both have both masculine and energy within us.
Yeah.
Women are made to intake more feminine energy. That's why we can give birth. That's why we have, and that's why we get penetrated, which is the woman is the receiver, the male is the giver, right?
Yeah.
So when it comes to these two energies, yes, our bodies, we are made in the image of God. What is God? God is oneness, but when it manifests in the physical realm, it's duality.
Yeah.
That's why we're made in the image of God. I'm made under the image of the feminine energy. You're made under the image of masculine energy. So that is in order. We can't really disparage, you know, we can't ignore that.
Yeah.
And it's an order that we have been given in, you know, by everything.
Absolutely.
And I feel like people ignore that a lot.
For
and
sure.
I think people are free to be who they want to be. But when they start to put that onto the world and try to change the world in order to accommodate them to the point where the world also becomes almost like a part of that, right? That is where things go wrong. Because yes, you do have free will to do what you want, and I'm not against that at all. I have very good friends who, you know, they're gay. I'm also myself, I'm bisexual.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And but I do feel like there's quite a lot of confusion going around that it takes advantage of this like chaos that people are going through within.
Yeah.
Because yes, there is a dual universe. Like this is something we can't deny.
Absolutely. I've done some past life work.
Really?
I was gay in a couple of them. For real. Like,
That's really
I was like,
interesting.
and I was taught growing up not like that wasn't good to do. So
Yeah, it's not that it's bad or anything like that. I think everybody, listen, the thing with like people being gay, etc., I do always think that the soul chooses to do those things throughout life. But I actually do also think that a lot of people are not gay or not transgender. I don't think a lot of them are.
modern day, yeah.
I
think
don't
it's
think
a lot of programming, right?
are. A lot of it is programming. One thing I have seen myself included from, you know, being gay, for example, it's a lot of it comes from trauma with that sex,
Wow.
right? I've seen a lot of gay people who either they have a very weak masculine figure in like the masculine, right? Remember the masculine. They have a very weak masculine figure in their household, or they're traumatized by a masculine figure.
Right.
Right. So that's also something that programs it. I don't think anybody's actually born gay.
Wow.
I think they're programmed into it. But I feel like at the end of the day, the soul chooses whether they keep going with that or they want to, you know, go back to like default,
Yeah.
basically. And I think that's also something that we're free to do. If you feel in your soul like, yeah, you are gay and you want to keep being gay, right? You can just, you know, that's your path and that's where you're going to learn the most. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yep.
There's nothing wrong with that. But then when other people start to push it onto children, you know, that's when they almost have like no say. Because the child's mind, like it literally gets programmed in the first 7 years of their life.
Right.
Like you have the subconscious mind that is literally created in the first 7 years of your life. And the subconscious mind, we know, is literally in control of everything that we live. So when you start to put those things in a child's face, when it's not the default, and I feel like people, they want to normalize that as being like, oh, people are born that way, or like that's the default. But there is an order at the end of the day, right? There is an order. And eventually you can choose to not go with that order, and that's fine, right? But when you start to put it into a child's face, or like, you know, almost like have them being programmed, right,
Yeah.
by those things. And because there's a lot of things right now in the media that are going around, and it's very apparent when you start to actually see it.
Absolutely.
That's when it becomes a problem, right?
Yeah. When
So-
did you start realizing this programming was going on in the media?
So I guess I started realizing it around when I was like 18 years old, because I had my boyfriend at the time. He was gay, and so I was very like free in my sexuality and things like that. And once again, there's like nothing wrong with that, but I feel like I had a very clouded point of view. But then when I started realizing that perhaps like children, right, they they get really programmed so easily. They're little sponges, right? So it's when I started realizing that they were attacking like that default order, I would say, because it's there, it's apparent, like we can't ignore it, right? When they started attacking that, that's when things start to go out of balance. Because if we really want to take advantage and grow as a civilization, there needs to be an order between these two energies inside of us and inside collective, the collective, right? Like the masculine and the feminine. That's really when we're going to evolve as a species. Right now we have evolved in a very imperialistic way. It's not capitalism, right? Because the masculine giver, doer, order, right? It's the superficial stuff, nothing wrong with it. Materialistic, right? It's the ego as well. There's nothing wrong with the ego. When you're fully ego, that's when the problem becomes a problem. But the masculine has been in power for a long, long time. And what do we see? We see this capitalism, but it's not really capitalism anymore when there's these big companies that are buying everything, right? And we have I would say the masculine like being in charge because they haven't let the feminine thrive. And that's when things start to fall out of order.
Right.
If we want order, we need to have a balance between the feminine, which is the receiver, right? The spiritual, the heart, the empathy, and the masculine within us and the world.
Yeah.
Right? But you see it right now out of balance and with imperialism that we have right now, more leaning towards the masculine. But when people start to wake their feminine up, they go towards the other extreme, which is the chaos, the fact that you don't have an order, right? You're fluid, but in a way where you really don't know who you are. That's when it also becomes a problem. So yes, in order for us to evolve, we need this balance between the two in the collective as well. And I feel like that's really what they want to disturb. Yeah. Either they're in one extreme or the other, right? And I feel like this is also why there's quite a lot of people who have like mental illnesses now as well. Because for example, if you have, the balance between these two, but if you go more towards the masculine, like to extreme, that's when you find yourself lacking a heart, lacking empathy. You start becoming a narcissist. Yeah. You start to become egoista, which is egocentrical, right? Selfish. And it goes towards the extreme, materialistic, superficial, and then it goes into psychopathy, the deeper it goes. Right. In Hermeticism, it says that the two ends of the pole, right? Because everything is dual, everything is duality, everything has two poles. But the more you go towards both extremes, the more they meet. You know how hot becomes cold? When it's something so hot, it literally feels cold. Or when something's so cold, it literally feels hot, right? A lot of people now are waking up like a lot of different illnesses and personality disorders. Right. Because when they go towards the feminine as well, right, those are personality disorders. But when you go towards the feminine, you get borderline personality disorder. Yeah. Codependence. You have the abuser here, and then you have codependence and the victim here. And the more you go towards the end, you meet borderline personality disorder, which is a completely chaotic personality disorder. Very, very, very emotional, very erratic. There's no solidity. There's no structure here because they're lacking the masculine. But the more they go towards the end of that, they meet sociopathy and then psychopathy. Yeah. Right? So they end up meeting. And that's because right now the world is like really out of balance. So it's either it's on one extreme or the other. Right. And when people start to like fluctuate between these two, they start to get confused as well. So it's almost like there's like a lack of structure, absolutely, order, and ignorance towards these two very apparent energies in the world.
Do you think if someone's a psychopath, that is fixable, or is that too far gone?
It is fixable, yeah. A lot of people, a lot of spiritual people, they believe that psychopaths don't have souls, but they do. Oh, wow. It's just that they're on a far end of the masculine. It's called Ahriman energy. The far end of the feminine is Lucifer energy. Lucifer is not satanic or anything. It's more like false light. The false light, right? Like
a witch?
Like, it's more of a false light. It would be, when people are so into the heart, into the spiritual, that they literally go crazy. Because they forget the masculine. Right. They need order. So you go insane or you start to completely ignore the physical. That would be Luciferian energy. But if there's a psychopath, what they need to work on is more of like having more femininity in them, starting to wake their emotions up, starting to notice them. Because the thing with psychopaths is that they do have emotions. It's just that they don't notice them 100% of the time. Right. So when they start to put their awareness on it, right, because awareness is like super important. When they start to put their awareness on their emotions and start to actually develop the feminine side, yes, they're going to fluctuate first through narcissism and then through balanced masculine.
That's good to know.
Yeah, that's in I would say in comparison to a lot of beliefs, I do feel like psychopaths have souls.
That's good to know because I make all my friends take the dark triad test. Are you familiar with that test?
Yeah.
Yeah, one of my friends got a 99 in psychopath. So I was a little worried for him. but I'm going to let him know that it's possible to lower that number.
It's 100% possible. I've been down that path myself.
Oh, you scored high on that one?
Yeah.
Wow. That's surprising to me.
In different aspects like narcissism, but it was way back.
Yeah.
And that's because, well, my dad was a narcissist, like bad.
Got it. So environment.
And I grew up without those morals that make up the feminine, like the emotions and things like that. So I had to develop those by myself. Like once I noticed that I was a narcissist, I had to develop them. But I did have, like I told you, I grew up around a lot of darkness. So naturally, I thought I was, meant for the darkness. Right. So that's when I started noticing that perhaps I'm not, and I can fix myself. And I started working on that. Wow. Same thing with like all the other mental illnesses I've had that were like chronic.
Yeah. I love how open you are about admitting that, because most people would never admit they're a narcissist.
Yeah, definitely not. And I feel like it has a lot to do with being conscious of it and then working on it and developing your feminine and the emotions. Because now I personally have like a set of rules that I cannot break, because I just would never do those things to people. You know, I wouldn't want those things to be done to me, and so I won't do them to people.
Got it.
So it's as simple as that. And I feel like I've developed a type of loyalty and empathy that is unbreakable, and something that I feel I've built with like my own hands. Yeah. So it was already there. It was just covered.
That's great.
That makes sense.
Speaking of darkness, tell me about that tattoo. That looks like a hollow from Bleach. Is that what it is?
You haven't seen Spirited Away?
No.
Oh, it's such an awesome movie. It's by Hayao Miyazaki. Okay. It's a spiritual movie for children. And it talks quite a lot about, it has a lot of meanings. Okay. It's a beautiful movie. This spirit was actually tied to my darkness, yes. This spirit was a spirit of, his name is No Face, and he would go and offer people gold, and when the people would get too greedy, he would eat them. And he would lose himself and his like sense of self around greed and that low frequency. And I got it tattooed to remind myself to not fall back into that, because when I was dealing the most with my narcissism was when I was very successful off of dropshipping, sales, all that stuff. Yeah. And so I had like, you know, taken myself from like literally like dust to a lot of things. And I guess that like put me in a very, very dark place, like materially. Got it. So I was very masculine.
It's easy to fall into that materialistic trap, I think.
When you first start being successful, and especially if you've had nothing your entire life, yeah.
Yeah, I fell for that too.
Yeah, everybody does.
Friends.
It's part of it. Everybody, literally every single person, unless, you know, I don't know, they were raised with you know, that mindset. I wasn't. They're gonna fall into it, because money, it's like it only makes you more of what you are.
Amplifies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people come from money, and it's even harder.
Yeah. Because they haven't built that. That's why I'm not gonna lie. I love to have like connections more when they came from nothing. Yeah. I feel like I relate more to those people.
That holds weight.
Yeah. It holds a lot of weight.
I've been with my girl since I was broke, and that's gonna be hard to ever replace. You know what I mean?
Ever replace. Yep. That's very true. I think when it comes to those type of values that you build, it's a whole other story, you know? Yeah. It's you came from like nothing, and then you're something now.
Absolutely.
You know?
I want to talk about the dream world.
The dream world?
Yeah. I've seen you make a couple YouTube videos on it. So what's the meaning and importance of dreams?
The meaning and importance of dreams. So the meaning and importance of dreams, I feel like it has so many different things. It's really important to know symbolism. But I feel like the meaning is something that is more what you feel in that moment. Because there's so many different dreams that you can have. And there's quite a lot of things that you can do, like astral traveling, lucid dreaming, all that stuff. But when it's a subconscious dream, your subconscious is going to let you know a lot of the time how it's doing through words, through colors, through numbers, through symbols, right? Like mountains, things like that. So if you know symbolism is going to help you like decipher your dreams better. But my personal favorite way to do it is just actually figuring out what those symbols mean to me. Because obviously the universe is not going to communicate to me through something that I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
So is your dream like a subconscious talking to you? What do you think it is going on there?
There's so many different things because the thing is that the physical realm and the astral realm are almost like back to back. They're together. Actually, the physical realm even is like a lot of people have so many different like names for all these realms of existence. I call it all the astral realm, just different planes.
Got it.
Right, different like states of it. I would say different vibrations. And the physical realm is a very low density realm. But then you have the dreams, which is where we go to every single night, even if you don't remember it. And on there, yes, you can have like subconscious dreams, but it's really just you creating like in the astral realm through your vibration, through your subconscious. But if you get out of that sort of like creative mode, you can start to also speak to other beings, like travel through different planes and all those things.
Wow.
And all of that is also influenced by your own energy. And that's how psychics can read, actually. Like you think psychics are like able to see some things and all that stuff. They really just like see into the astral realm. And their energy, they intake the energy, and the way that they visualize it is based off of their energy. So one psychic can be like, I see a dark entity around you. Another one can be like, I see a dark smoke around you.
Got it.
All of them are just seeing the same energy in different interpretations in the astral realm. Same thing with dreams. So everything is the astral realm is very abstract, very creative. So you create a lot on there.
Yeah.
What you see is really based off your frequency.
That's interesting. Do you have any experiences astral traveling?
Yeah, I do.
Really?
It happens quite often. So.
Wow, lucky. That's my goal. Oh, no, you don't like it?
Yeah, so definitely the astral realm is really interesting because I've seen quite a lot of things.
I bet.
Spoken to so many different beings. I've even seen elves.
Really? So elves are real?
Yeah, they're real.
Wow.
They're not as good looking as you think they are.
That's interesting.
No, but the thing I've seen the most has been demons and lower astral beings.
Oh, man.
Yeah, because obviously, like I'm a human being. Like I'm in a low density realm, you know? So naturally, even when I work on like my frequency, there's always going to be some things that affect me in the astral realm, especially because it's very a subconscious thing. So now I deal with it less, but like lower astral beings are always there if people start to astral travel. They're even there when people don't remember their dreams. So
you got to learn how to protect your energy.
And you do, and they love fear. They love it. They love it. That's like their buffet. So if you wake up one day and you start to see like these beings, and you're scared, they're gonna feed off of that. They're gonna think it's amazing, right? But if you start showing them love and like light, light and not darkness, they're gonna get offended. They're gonna hate it. And they're gonna leave. So it really comes to like your frequency, because obviously these beings can't exist in like higher realms.
Yeah.
You also have these beings working on people every single day.
Really?
Yeah. You don't think all these artists, for example, when they start talking about demonic stuff, you have most definitely you have a lower astral being behind it.
Wow. So it's true then, if you astral project, your body is vulnerable and can be overtaken by demons?
You're always connected to your body. But yes, they can latch onto you.
Wow.
They can latch onto you, yeah. And so the fastest way, because these beings can also like, the reason why people fall for them is because these beings can literally shapeshift into like any loved one, even into angels, God, whatever, and they'll tell you, yo, you have like a really big mission, but you need to do this for me, like you need to do that. And so that subconsciously gets like programmed in the brain of the person, even when they don't remember this like thing, and then they go and do it the next day, and they go and like make music about it, whatever. The easiest way to know if you are around like a lower astral being, even if they look like your deceased grandma, is to ask them like, show me the light. Can you show me you're a being of light? And if they resist, they're not it. They're not beings of light. They're dark beings. They're lower astral beings. You know what you can do that with too? Humans.
Really?
Yeah.
You could tell a human to show me the light?
Yeah, you can ask them for reassurance. And if they resist, like if anything resists in your life, it's not meant for you. It's not of the light, right? It's not something that's gonna guide you towards like what you really want to do here.
Wow.
Let's say you have like you're going out with this girl, or I'm going out with this guy. If I start to see resistance, like in our conversation, that I can already see that it's not gonna work out.
Just in the conversation.
Yeah. Like
what about
resistance
disagreements?
Overall. Disagreements. I feel like disagreements are overall like overridden by understanding.
Mm.
So if I have a disagreement with somebody, like you and I are, having a conversation right now, but if I think something and you don't think about it, I'm pretty cool with that, but that's not resistance.
Got it. So there's a difference.
There's a big difference. If you have, let's say, like you have this person that you're making a business with, and then you're like, hey, like when is this gonna happen? Like I keep, you keep like putting it off, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, yeah, I just have to wait like one more week, blah, blah, blah. That's resistance. I just have to wait one more week, but they keep putting it off.
Yeah.
That's resistance.
Interesting. Yeah. They call it procrastination.
Yeah. And it's literally your life is always like going between that. Like it's either it's resisting or it's flowing. And when something flows, it's meant to be.
Yeah.
If it's resisting, it's not. The more you like cling onto it, it's not going to work out. Same thing works with the astral realm. When you meet these beings, if they resist, because they usually will get very offended when you ask them, like, show me the light.
Yeah.
Like, show me that you're of light. They'll be like, oh, what do you mean? Like, I'm here for you, blah, 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 right? Just like a person, if let's say you have a boyfriend and you ask them like, hey, are you cheating on me? Somebody who's not cheating on you is not going to be like, no, like, why would you think that? But in a way where it's like, they're confident about it. They're not really resisting the question.
It flows.
Somebody who is cheating will get offended,
Facts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've witnessed that a lot. So that makes sense. Have you ever seen creatures of light while you're astral traveling?
What do you mean?
Like beings that are good beings?
Yes, I've seen quite a few, but it's been more like within the actual astral realm. It wasn't like more in my, like when I'm like walking around. When I'm walking around like my room, I would say, that's when I see more like lower beings. But when I leave, that's when I see more of like higher astral beings. But I'm not gonna lie, I've seen way more lower astral beings than higher.
I didn't know they were that common. That's crazy.
Yeah.
They're all around your house like that?
Not really. It's more of, it's almost like these these things are like very tied together, and so if you have a channel open, even if the place is like not haunted, you're going to naturally see them because they're everywhere. They're here with us right now, but on different planes. That's why we can't see them.
And are those just souls that just lived a tough life and just couldn't get over it? What exactly are those?
Maybe. I don't know that.
Wow.
I guess like the closest thing I can tell you is that when it comes to these beings, some of them are, yes, they're lost souls, but other ones are perhaps just beings that haven't yet lived a human experience to develop a heart.
Wow. That's deep. So that might be considered hell to some people, right?
Of course. Yeah, well, hell can be created here as well. Like hell is actually what we were just speaking about, the imbalance of those two energies, the masculine and feminine. That's really what hell is.
Wow.
Because imagine if you're like fully in your masculine and you have no soul, you have no connection to anything, no fulfillment.
Yeah.
That's hell. But also if you're really in the chaos side, you don't know who you are, you're, overly emotional to the point where you destroy everything. And like, that's also hell. The imbalance between, of these two, that's hell. And that you can also see like in these realms, I would say. Because obviously if you're a demon and you're feeding off of fear, there's like really no balance there.
Right.
That's the astral realm as well. Like those two energies also manifest in the astral realm.
Do you ever get overwhelmed just in crowded rooms, being able to read all this energy?
Yes and no. I feel like I'm still in process myself, but I think I have gotten a good hang of it, where I just know I'm protected, and I just simply decide not to like put my energy there anymore because I feel like I have mastered quite a lot, like consciousness. And to draw it back to myself and not like have my energy out there.
Yeah. You must have high standards for dating because you read people so well.
Oh yeah. I have a boyfriend myself.
Yeah.
Literally. He's somebody who gets me in every single way.
Nice.
Like it's a perfect balance between me and him.
He's pretty spiritual too.
Very spiritual, yes.
Nice.
But we have a really, really, really good balance between our both energies, I would say. So
that's great.
That's something I really cherish in a person.
Absolutely. Anything else you want to promote or close off with? You got a course or anything?
A course? Yes, I do. So I work on, I would say like my main foundation is consciousness, awareness, observation, the fact that you can observe and then direct energy. That's how I got rid of my psychosis. Because I had psychosis. I was meant to be schizophrenic forever.
Wow.
Yeah. And so one thing I noticed getting out of that is that since we live in a quantum universe, when you have experiences like that, it's almost like you're seeing like the reality of it, but you don't know where you are. You don't understand that you picked the reality, that you created. So every single time you're creating a reality, like you have a thought, for example, because everything starts off with a thought. Like Buddha said, everything starts with a thought. That's every single time you get a thought, that's like a potential reality that can get manifested. So if you give your energy to it, it's going to evolve, right? Because the more you give energy to one certain amount of, like to a certain thought, the more you get thoughts like that. And then it starts to emotionally react. Remember, mind, heart. That's when you start to create. So me drawing back my energy from thoughts that were delusional to myself and to realities that's what I want to fit, you know, that what I want to have is something that has completely shifted my life from like being an addict, like completely mentally ill, and just changing like everything.
Wow.
You know? So consciousness is so powerful for creating reality. That's how I got into quantum physics and the metaphysical and was able to also like control everything. Because if you have awareness, if you strengthen your awareness, you can develop supernatural abilities. You can even start to read minds if that's like how advanced you get. You can heal your body, like your organs, right? You can heal your mind, like from mental illnesses or whatever you have. You can literally do anything, like any spiritual objective that you have, you can do it if you strengthen your awareness. It's like it's really the core. So I have an entire academy that is based off awareness and how to strengthen it and then direct it towards what you want to do, right? If you want to direct it towards creating a reality, do it. If you want to go ahead and you know, heal your body, do it, right? You can go and really do anything with it. Awareness is also literally what gets you out of your body and into astral traveling.
Wow.
Right? It's just knowing where to put your energy, because you send and receive energy every single day. And if you don't know where to put it, or you are not conscious of where you put it, that's when you create a reality that, you know, it's kind of under the control of your subconscious mind.
Incredible.
So awareness and consciousness, you can even put it outside of you and see without your eyes. Like, it's really insane.
That's next level.
It is next level. I love it.
We'll link that below. I can't wait for people to comment and
of course.
share their experiences. Thanks so much for coming on.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for watching, guys. See you tomorrow.